I welcome you on behalf of CityBUH India. In today's webinar, we are going to discuss a very novel topic, emergence of new normal in construction industry. But before we begin our today's session, let me introduce today's our expert, our panelist. So our first panelist of today is Mr. Amitabh Kumar, Senior Vice President, Puranik Builders Limited. Mr. Amitabh is a B Civil from NIT Allahabad and has obtained his MTech in Civil Engineering from IIT Kanpur. His major remarkable high-rise projects in Mumbai are 250-meter tall Indiabulls Sky Tower and 240-meter tall K. Raheja Corp Artesia project. Amitabh is a member of American Society of Civil Engineers and a member of CityBUH Height and Data Committee. Welcome, Mr. Amitabh Kumar. Next panelist of today's session, I would like to welcome Mr. G.S. Balaji, Senior Vice President and Head Project, Real Estate, Reliance Industries Limited. Mr. Balaji is a civil engineer from Bangalore University and holds postgraduate degree in management from NMIMS Mumbai. He is a fellow of Indian Institution of Engineers, a chartered engineer and a member of a Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. Mr. Balaji has handled critical portfolio with the top real estate developers and construction companies including Phoenix Mills, GMC Project, K. Raheja Corp. He is presently spearheading Reliance Industries' 8 million square feet Geo World Center project at BKC Mumbai. Welcome, Mr. G.S. Balaji. Next panelist, let me introduce and welcome Mr. P.V. Prashant, Director, Operations and Technology, Shapoorji Pallonji. Mr. Prashant is a civil engineering graduate from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. He has previously been associated with L&T DLF, Long O Roorkee and Gavin India. He played a leadership role in the construction of many one-of-its-kind projects of India, including Intel SRR Bangalore project, the Imperial Tower, one of the tallest residential towers in India and the first cable-stayed building in India for iFlex Solution, Bangalore. Welcome, Mr. Prashant. Fourth panelist of today's session, I am pleased to welcome Mr. Sarvesh Soman, Head CIDCO and Hada Housing Task Force Project, L&T Constructions. Mr. Soman is a B Civil from COAP Pune and holds Executive Postgraduate Diploma in Management from IIM Kozhikode. Mr. Soman joined L&T in year 1992 as a graduate engineer trainee, and his previous assignment prior to the present role was as the head for the residential building Western region for L&T Construction. Welcome, Mr. Soman. And last but not the least, moderator of today's session, Mr. Yogesh Hate, Associate Director Development RMZ Corp. Mr. Yogesh Hate is a civil engineer, a project management professional, and a member of a Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyor. Yogesh has executed complex projects in over 9 countries and has spent large part of his career in the US executing projects for multiple US federal government agencies. His remarkable projects on home ground are US Consulate at BKC Mumbai, DB Woods Goregaon, the first IGBC Green Homes rated residential building of Maharashtra, and Omkar Altamonte Malad, one of the largest residential development of Mumbai suburbs. Yogesh presently heads the development department for the Western region at RMZ Corp. Our today's entire panel fondly calls him Yogi because of their amazing professional chemistry, which I observed in all the interactive session. And I'm delighted to mention that Yogesh is an active member of CityBUH India Core Group. With that said, let me hand over the platform to today's moderator to take over and commence the session. And so I'm just going to sit back, relax, enjoy my cup of coffee and enjoy this interesting chat. So over to you, Yogesh, and enjoy the session.
So Anuja, thank you. Thanks a lot. Very excited to be here in the esteemed company of our panelists today. The COVID-19 situation has really changed the way we live, work, play, and socialize. Looking at the work front, I have a question for, we have a representation here from real estate developers as well as the top contracting companies of India. How do you see the Indian construction industry evolving post this pandemic? Will there be new measures that you would be implementing in terms of the site infrastructure? Is this going to be the new normal? So to start with, Mr. Balaji, can we have your thoughts on this topic?
Thanks, Yogesh. Thanks, CTBH, for giving us this opportunity to have this conversation about the new normal and the post-pandemic situation in the construction industry. Yogi, this will definitely be a new normal. There's no doubt about it. And what all will be the basic impact that we will see a lot of impact on how the construction industry looks at this, the new norms that have been announced by the government and by the industry, which will follow. And there will be always a concern about health being the primary issue on every site. Words like safe distance, PPE, and all these particular care that we have to take now for ensuring that the hygiene on the site, the conditions in which the work happens, looking at the productivity part of the construction activities, all this will form the new normal, and there will be a great thrust in ensuring that there will be more amount of care exercised by all parties to ensure that the new norms, the new rules and regulations imposed on the industry is followed. There's no doubt about it. It is going to be a new normal, and
Great.
Things will get adapted fast.
Understand. Can we go to Sarvesh? Sarvesh, as a representative from the contracting side, can we have your views on this?
Thanks, Yogesh, and thanks, Anuja, for the introduction. I hope and pray that all of us who are watching this, who are participating in this webinar, and all those who are watching this webinar and their friends and families are safe and sound, and that we're all following the norms stated by government and WHO. I thank CTBUH for organizing this webinar and for giving me this privilege and pleasure to be a part of this webinar. I'll definitely share my views on the various aspects on how the new norms will emerge. Of course, COVID-19 is indeed an unprecedented kind of a situation which humanity has never faced for the last maybe 100 years or more. And this has created enormous amount of uncertainty and enormous amount of question mark on the businesses, whether the business will be there, not there. In fact, this reminds me of Satya Nadella's quote, longevity in the business is about reinventing the business, or reinvent yourself, or reinvent your business. Now, if you ask me, how does this apply to us? Yes, I mean, it will apply to, because the threat and the uncertainty is so much that we'll have to probably, if we have to emerge successfully from this whole thing, from this COVID-19, which is going to be there, I don't know. I mean, there are experts who will comment about it, WHO, ICMR, the governments, whether it lasts for X months or Y months or X years, I don't know. But the uncertainty, the threat is there. So in any such scenario, if you ask me, things have to emerge, new things have to come up. And in that, there will always be some winners and there will always be some losers. Winners are those who set new norms, and losers are those who probably tried to do some norms, new norms, but probably did not gain momentum. So we'll talk about this, and this reminds me of Professor Ram Charan's famous quote in one of his books, where he talks about radical change in the supply chain, in the way we have business model. So Yogesh, to answer, to give a quick snap on the whole theme of this webinar, I would say that yes, we'll have to reinvent radically our supply chain, the way we operate, our business model, our processes, And it's an absolutely a volatile world. But more important also is we always forget that the customers, the way they perceive, the way they look at the vendors, suppliers and contractors, they will also have to undergo a mindset change to emerge out of it and to make a collective success. There has to be a collective success. It's not about one individual succeeding. It cannot be a lose-lose option. There has to be a win-win option for everybody. So Yogesh, my take on this is this, and then of course we'll talk for that. Thank you, Yogesh.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarvesh. I mean, in a nutshell, so those who can adapt and those who can set new norms would be the winners. Good thought to have. With that, I would like to pose the same question to Amitabh. I mean, Amitabh at this point of time probably has 6 to 10 sites operating within the Mumbai and Lonavala regions. So, Amitabh, what would be your take on this?
Thanks, Yogesh. Thanks, Anuja, for nice introduction. And I'm also thankful to CityBUH India for giving me an opportunity to interact with this awesome audience. Yogesh, we all are going through a very difficult phase. We know it. I will be covering how construction industry is going to evolve in the present situation. What will be the new normal? What will be the trends in construction? Basically, where we are heading now. Economic downturn is there. Customers are dwindling day by day. As per an estimate, we have seen that Indian construction industry is going to lose 1,060 billion Indian rupees due to this COVID pandemic. Customer sentiment is low. Everybody wants to conserve cash. We are witnessing reverse migration of labor to rural India, which we never witnessed in the past. Then supply chain is disrupted. Construction materials are not available. Government is spending less and less on infrastructure, which is putting infrastructure companies on negative side. All construction companies associated with mass transit, aviation, or hospitality industry are already in very bad shape. At this point, I would like to quote from American Society of Civil Engineers Code of Ethics. I am also a member. Engineers shall hold paramount health, safety, and welfare of public. So going forward, health, safety, and welfare of public will be in the forefront of design, construction, or whatever we do in future. We have to stop transmission of COVID within the buildings. This can be done by using indoor microbial monitoring. We will be using daylight and natural ventilation, which will stop COVID transmission. Frequent air changes will help. With this, passive solar architecture will gain momentum at this point. We will be very careful to use surfaces what we choose inside the buildings. The surfaces like natural unfinished wood or copper are having very good antimicrobial properties, and perhaps they will be used more and more instead of steel or plastic. When I think of trends in construction, one thing which comes to my mind is modular construction. We have seen during the peak of COVID, hospitals has to come up at breakneck speed. It can't happen with the traditional construction. To my mind, it comes that steel structures and composite structures will be more and more in future because they can come fast and they utilize less labor. 3D printing may also gain importance for mass housing and single-story buildings. Cut bend steel from yard will be used in India, which is prevalent all over the world. Instead of cutting and bending the steel at the site, we will be using technology like bathpod. Instead of doing the in-situ construction of toilets at site, we will be using bathpod, manufacturing it at the factories, taking it to the site, and then putting it on the slab or the desired location. So these trends of construction comes to my mind. So far, digital technologies are concerned, Indian construction industry is very slow to adopt to digital technologies. But in the present situation, digital technologies will be used more and more. First thing comes to my mind is BIM and virtual reality, building information modeling. They will be used more and more on our buildings. For example, I am showing on the screen an instrument where we can feed BIM model of the building. It is similar to our total station, but BIM model of the building can be fed into it. This is having inbuilt laser, and using it, we can set out the building and set out the columns, walls at the construction site. Such technology will be used in future. We will be seeing quality and safety-based apps to be used. So all the quality and safety checklist will move to the app-based technology. Besides all this technology, what comes to my mind is there will be a change in mindset of people. There in the mindset of my project managers and senior managers who are having large teams under them, because we all are under stress. So empathy, emotional intelligence, these type of soft skills will come into prominence. And going into future, I feel that EQ, emotional quotient, will be more important than IQ. Thanks, Yogesh. That was my view on the present situation.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So basically, latch on to the newer technologies available in the market as soon as possible. That would be the key going forward. Prashant, you have a distinct portfolio wherein you head operations as well as technology for Shapoorji Pallonji. Could you throw some light on this topic?
Thank you, Yogesh, and thank you, Anuja, for a very generous introduction. First of all, I will wish to thank CTBUH for giving me this opportunity to air my views to all present on the panel and to the audience at large, because this is a wonderful platform and I feel privileged that I'm on this platform. We are in lockdown 4 and we have already experienced more than 8 weeks of lockdown, which is the new normal at all our sites and offices. We had developed, based on the information and knowledge that we have about the pandemic, the various SOPs, protocols and processes which we are religiously implementing at all our sites and our offices. Now, based on what we know about the pandemic, we have developed our SOPs, we have developed our procedures and protocols, and we are religiously implementing them at all our sites. Now, we generally adopt a 4-pronged approach to handle any such situation. It's called the 4E approach, which is primarily we engineer a solution, then we educate all the people about the solution, then we establish a team to enforce this solution, and based on the emerging trends or emerging situations, we evolve a solution for that. So this we call is a 4E solution, and we adopt them at all sites, not just for the pandemic, for any such situation. Now, one of the very important things which we have observed in this particular situation is the involvement of the government agencies, which has been wonderful. And to a large extent, the success of this lockdown is also because of their positive involvement in this, be it the police department, be it the municipal department, or the labor department from the government. So this has been a wonderful experience. Now, post-lockdown, obviously we are going to continue a lot of these initiatives and probably adopt even more, because we really don't know what is going to happen when the monsoons, along with this contagious disease being there, how it is going to, behave together. So there are a lot of things which we don't know, and probably we'll have to evolve to that situation as and when it happens. Now, when I look at what happens post-lockdown, I look at it in 3 parts, maybe in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term. In the short term, I would say it is anything between 0 to 3 months. In the medium term, it would be something between 3 to 6 months. In the long term would be beyond 6 months. One of the big challenges we would obviously face as a construction industry in the short term is the mobilization of labor and retention of labor. We're already seeing a huge exodus of labor retaining has become a challenge. It will continue to be that way in the short term. In the medium term, we would probably put in more money and see that all of them are brought back. And in the long term, it would come to a new normal, which is different from what we were experiencing earlier. In terms of the availability of raw material and the cost of raw material, that is primarily going to be driven by the demand and supply. So in the short term, we may find a shortage and a very high price for that. In the medium term, it would moderate. In the long term, it would play depending on the demand and supply and who is able to put cash down on the table. The time and cost on projects, if the time is going to get extended, the cost is obviously going to go high, because in the short term, all our costs are going to increase. We were just doing a calculation, very rough calculation, maybe valid for some of us, not valid for some of us. Each laborer is roughly going to consume more than 40 to 50,000 rupees as additional cost on each of the sites that he is going to be deployed if he is mobilized from a red zone into another site. Primarily because of activities like quarantining, providing separate facilities for him. So these are the order of cost. I'm not saying that he is going to be the cost, but these are the order of cost that we are going to experience.
Yes.
The bigger challenge I find is going to be in terms of logistics, because the country has been divided into green, red and orange zones, but primarily we have not got into the detail of what happens if a material moves from a red zone via a green zone into a red zone, or vice versa, when materials are moving from a green zone to another green zone via a red zone, or what happens to material when it moves from a green zone to a red zone. These are all challenges which we are going to encounter in the short term. Probably we'll get used to it in the medium term and accommodate either in terms of increased cost or increased time or both. In the long term, it will come to a new normal. Now, my only humble suggestion and request to all the people who are either in the participants and panelists who comprise of clients and government officials, let us all work together on this in terms of accommodating these particular new norms and adjusting them, and let us be fair to each other in this condition. Let us not open our contract books and start reading the lines between them, because obviously none of them exist in any of our contracts. With these humble thoughts, I give it back to you, Yogesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. So basically, unlearn the age-old ways of doing construction, relearn the newer SOPs and adapt to them. That's the gist. So in continuation to this topic, between Sarvesh and you, major construction contractors, they have been on the forefront of, digitalization and the use of latest technology in construction. So do you guys see an opportunity in this adversity to further your pursuit of technology? What all would you be doing going forward? Sarvesh, can we start with you?
Yeah. Thanks, Yogesh. So the point is digitalization. I would rather, you spoke about technology and something, I would rather put it this way, that digitalization and technology are two things which will come up to the fore because of this unfortunate COVID-19 threat. Whatever has happened because of COVID is practically everything is very bad and not good at all. And this is that the only silver lining probably we can see is that the health safety of all concerned, of all stakeholders, right, starting from the labor, workmen. Yogesh, if you don't mind, I'll slightly give an elaborate talk on this. I'm a little more passionate on this. So bear with me. What I was saying is that this is the only silver lining is about health safety, which improves dramatically, which can improve dramatically thanks to normal means which have been adopted nowadays, and even thanks to digitalization. Technology, I'm keeping a bit aside for the moment. Talking about digitalization, yes, 90% of the people whomsoever we talk think that digitalization is very important pre-COVID or now with COVID or whatever. But when it comes to implementation, hardly 15% really, I'm talking about across the sector, whether right from auto to whatever. maybe companies like Amazon or something, they might have very high-tech digitalization, but by and large, the implementation is very poor. And when it comes to construction, especially the small and the medium contractors, the digitalization is probably non-existent. Only in the large corporates like L&T and Shapoorji, where or some other corporates where there is some digitalization happening. In fact, in L&T it has been there for quite some time, and now Corona gives us, of course, very unfortunate. Corona gives us that kind of a momentum where we can really convert this threat into an opportunity. Now, how do we do that? See, my whole thrust, that's why I said I'd give me a couple of minutes more here, Yogesh. The point is, digitalization can be used to reduce touch points and to increase the physical distance between workers. Honestly, I'll tell you, construction is an absolute activity where there's a lot of group activities, a lot of people come together, they work shoulder to shoulder, and there's a lot of touch points, too many touch points. I mean, if I take the entry point, for example, where the labor center, there's a register. I would say that why do we need a register? Register means so many pens have to be exchanged, so many registers have to be exchanged, and that creates a lot of problem. So digitize that. I mean, go digital in that. Absolutely, everybody has a smartphone. Go digital. And I just quickly talk about sanitizers. Earlier, when COVID started, we were having hands dispensing sanitizers where everybody had a touch point. Now it is probably you can have a sensor-based sanitizer. Very beautiful sanitizer, digital sanitizer. Simple thing like a survey. I mean, a simple thing like a survey, we have plumb bob and 3 guys standing close to each other, so many touch points, so many physical proximity. Why do we need that? One guy with a laser beam scanner can simply replace all of them. I'm not talking about removing jobs. They can be utilized for some other effective work, but usually utilizing digital work and digitalization. Talking about, when a labor goes to a stores, what happens? I mean, so much of indent, typically indent is exchanged, the indent is approved physically by so many people. Why? Make it digitize it, make it a digital activity. I mean, digital you can use for ensuring safety of all sorts of people. I spoke about labors. There are so many, I leave the participants and my panelists with some thoughts. I mean, these are just mere thoughts. And there can be a lot of, at every stage of the activity of construction, you can think of digital means or some other, I would say, jugaad where touch points can be reduced, physical distance can be increased. Take, for example, the staff. I mean, subcontractor billing, there's so much of paper exchange, so much of stuff happening. Mr. Amitabh, my co-panelist, spoke of QA/QC app. Honestly, I mean, we have at least a couple of sites where all the pour cards, the safety checklists, quality checklist, even to the extent of formwork checklists are being digitized. I mean, it is all already done. It is already digitized. So the small and medium contractors have to absorb, but then the clients have to support them. If you go by government norms, typically you have those measurement and books, and so much of colossal paperwork and touch points, physical close proximity. Reduce that, go digital. Drone surveys can be used. I mean, there are very many other means where we can, drone surveys used many places. One classic example, I leave the participants with some thoughts. We have a lot of machines and motors. Instead of everybody going and operating at switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off, can I make it remote? In one of our sites for the automatic landing system, I mean, already it is being done. Instead of everybody using the hydraulic power pack through on, off, it's being remotely done. Digitize it. It not only brings in a lot of savings and wastage control, it can improve the productivity significantly. So Yogesh, there's so much I can speak on that, but of course, I don't want to take too much long, but simple things, paperless office, digitize everything. That's my take on that. So see, it's the silver lining. It's the silver lining in this thread.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to get out of you, Sarvesh. So it's a silver lining. There are avenues for improvement. There will be costs associated, and we'll have to bear it jointly. Yes. In continuation, Prashant, I would like to know your thoughts as well on this.
Yeah, Yogesh, thank you. And Sarvesh, I think you have covered a lot of what I wanted to cover. But anyway, let me just have a few points. I would divide the whole conversation into two parts. First is the digitalization part, and the second is the technology part.
Yes.
Like how Sarvesh said, digitalization would cover everything which is IT or IoT related, where you can reduce contact and touch points. Maybe simple things like BIM, which is used by all the fraternity within the construction industry, could be a platform which could be used to create, transmit, receive, and use all drawings which is on the table. So you can get the drawings delivered at your table without really wanting to really send a physical hard copy. At the same time, that data will contain everything like quantities. It will contain surface areas. It will also contain clash detection, which can be eliminated. I know this has been in vogue for the last 8 to 10 years, but it has not really caught on. In the last 60 plus days that we are in lockdown, a lot of the architects and consulting firms are very actively engaged with construction companies. And I think we have moved quite a bit in this in the last 60 days. So I would see this pandemic to be a catalyst in pushing us to the digitalized world in the construction much faster than it would have been otherwise.
Yes.
This is the first point I wanted to make. As far as technology is concerned, again, I would say it in two parts. There are productive tools which are going to come into the fore because of the lack of labor and the absence of labor and consistency of labor strength. So this is going to make us force them to use productive tools. Probably that is on the lower end of the bracket. Then there would be capex equipment related stuff, which could be driving us towards more prefab, more precast, whether it is 2D, 3D, all that would come in as the another step. Now, if you ask me simple, is it going to happen within the next 6 months? Probably not, but at least this pandemic has made us sit back and think that is this not a better way to go forward in view of the fact that there is shortage of labor, in view of the fact that there is higher cost of labor, in view of the fact there is inconsistent supply of labor. So if we want our projects to be running on programmed schedules, probably digitalization and the use of technology to varying degrees is the only solution. These are my thoughts, Yogesh.
Great. So basically, we are saying this will be the new normal.
See, when technology is really to be used to the last mile, the technology that we have today, like BIM and other things which my co-panelists, both Sarvesh and Prashant were saying, can be taken right up to not only up to interface and checking clash detection and all, but can also be taken to formulating tenders in the future, so that we have a paradigm shift from an item rate contract in India to a lump sum contract which is normally followed across the world. What happens in that in a lump sum contract, so many touch points of remeasurement, so on and so forth, will all go out of the practice, and we will just have a schedule of works that will be there, or the schedule of rates through which you can do a yardstick calculation and keep making payments as the progress goes on. So much of work today on a construction site is on the remeasurable part of the contract, because nobody wants to let go of a square inch of work done and not be paid for it. So I think we can take technology to that level in contracts and projects becoming large and big. We should start moving towards lump sum contracts where all this work is done before tendering, and then we are easily able to manage the measurement part of the contract, which normally is about 30-35% of the time consumed on the job for making payments, right from measuring to making payments and so on and so on. All this will become a little softer, smoother and easier in the future, I suppose.
Very valid.
True. So on this technology subject, we have seen another platform that we previously never used, the GoToMeeting app or maybe the Zoom calls. We've been getting used to this new concept of working from home, and so far it has been working well for us. Amitabh, I would like to know your thoughts. Do you foresee that we'll continue using this in the future?
Yes, Yogesh, we have seen in the present lockdown that architects, consultants, our budget estimation team, all are working on BIM billing, all are working on on this work from home, and they have achieved a lot of things. So I think it will continue further. But what I see that certainly it cannot be done at construction site. Their site engineers has to go to the site and physically work. But for head offices in developers, of course, budget estimation and billing can be done from work from home. And also I see that consultants will be using it more and more. But in my view, contract firms will not be using it that much. So if I have to put things in order, I will say most used by consultants, after that developers, and after that contractors. That will be my order of work from home. And also I think that there will be checks and balances. HR will issue different type of guidelines to be followed. And at a time, not more than 10-15% will be working from home. That's my take on this.
Okay. Moving on to the construction materials part.
Can I,
Yogesh, been disrupted, and this has an impact on both the local and imported materials. So how do you see, Balaji, how do you intend to tackle this problem?
Yogesh, this is really the VUCA world, uncertain, volatile, complex and ambiguous situation that we are in. Nobody knew that COVID would disrupt us to such an extent. It would create such kind of an uncertain situation in the whole economy, and construction industry is not spared from this particular phenomenon at this moment. The material, the supply chain, everything has been disrupted. When there is lockdown to such large extents happening across the world, there is bound to be a total close down of manufacturing facilities. Production of material, everything is going to get disturbed. Nobody knows when they will restart, when the red zones will become green zones for all the economic activity to start in full swing. When will the workers be back to undertake the production? Will only companies that are mechanized and totally computerized and do not have manpower requirement commence operation? Will that be sufficient to give all kinds of materials that are required for the construction industry to come back on full steam? Will imported materials be reduced because we do not know when they will be able to make their supplies to us? Because there also the production units and so on have all been disrupted. I think in the short term, we will be going Indian. We will be looking for Indian alternatives. We will be looking for products that suit our requirements that we were planning to import. Probably there were many reasons why we were importing earlier, but definitely there will be good substitutes that will come up in the long term. Or the people who are manufacturing abroad, once they see that we are buying local material to a great extent, will be incentivized to open up production facilities in India. A very good opportunity at this moment for India to ramp up its production capabilities and to produce good products. I was just listening to a good marketing guru, Sohail Seth, with Mr. Bajaj and so many people on a panel discussion. They were referring to one particular thing, that why we don't have a Facebook in India with so much of good IT industries, why India did not produce a Facebook. The reason was that the product that we were doing was not an excellent product probably. That was the mindset that we had. But now with this kind of a requirement coming in, probably very good, excellent products will be made in India, will be used by Indians, will be opted and preferred by Indians. So as a supply chain, as an material, I think the focus today will be more on Indian products, and whereas even our government is incentivizing us, asking us to go local, buy things which are local so that we don't depend on imported products at all. So I think the way forward will be that the disturbed supply chains will take time to come back to normal, but till such time we will have to have a small limping effect will be there. But in a short, as Prashant said, in the medium term, I think things will get normal when production starts here. Initially, there is going to be a disruption of materials being available. Costs can go high. Raw material shortages can be there. Or even the vice versa can happen here.
Correct.
So low demand.
Basically, what you're trying to say is
go down.
It will take time. Normalcy will take time.
It will take a little time. Yes, it will take a little time for us to get back to normal.
And
Make
in India will get
vocal karo.
Correct. So Amitabh,
Yes.
I would like to have your
Make in India will get an impetus.
Yes, Balaji.
Amitabh, I would like to have your perspective as well. Another development.
Yogesh, I will answer your question at two distinct ways. One is the local material and one is the imported material. So far local material is concerned, I will go into detail. Like in MMR, we are using tiles, we are using ready-mix plaster, we are using gypsum, and most of these things are coming from Gujarat. So if something is coming within the state, so far so good. If it is coming within the district, no problem. But if it is coming outside the state, then the state boundaries has to be crossed and there are some problem into it. But at the same time, I interacted with many of those manufacturers and they are more keen than us to resume the supply. That is a very positive thing. They are ready to go extra mile. But I see one more aspect to it, that going forward, we might want to know from where this material has come. Suppose something COVID case has happened in one factory. So there should be perfect traceability. We should be able to know on our side, whatever has come from where, at what time it was manufactured. So traceability will become important for suppliers. And we will also having our own SOPs. So it will be lying at the site for more time because 1 day, 2 days, we have to leave it at the site as per our new SOPs for COVID. So they have to be ready to absorb this extra cost during their supply. Now coming to the import material, what I feel that we are importing like high speed elevators from China. We are importing aluminum shutterings from Korea and many other things, machinery and critical equipments we are importing from outside. And they are not available in India. So in some cases, we have no choice. And also we have to see the aspect like aluminum shuttering. So most of the manufacturers are in South Korea and there are very few cases in South Korea. So probably we can be okay with that. But certainly China will be a big problem.
Yogi, just I'll add one point to this. Recently, we had a problem with glass. We were looking at imported glass, and that was the specified material. And it was coming from a Chinese plant. But with this particular situation now, we have taken a decision that that particular area of the facade and the area of the project, we will go for an Indian manufactured glass produced in India, and we have convinced the consultant saying that if we want to depend on material that will have to come from China, we are not very sure because they already have a long queue of customers waiting because their plants were shut during the COVID crisis in China. So our project, we are not taking that risk at all, but we have gone for an Indian glass, very similar to what it was in terms of performance and so on and so forth. Yes, there is a slight change in the small change in the tint because we can't get the same tint as what we had from the Chinese supplier, but we are okay with it and we have accepted it. So this is how we are going to adapt and go local and ensure that the disruption in supply chain is not going to affect the timelines of the project.
Understood. So maybe even, modify the specifications to suit local products and keep your construction completion schedules.
Absolutely. That is the way forward that is going to be there.
Amitabh, you made a very valid point. Now, just-in-time deliveries probably will not be possible. You will have to stack the materials for maybe 72 plus hours, and you'll need to show that. Yeah, that's a very valid point. Okay, so all of you so far have, suggested multiple changes at the site level between, the human interaction. Sarvesh talked about, getting rid of the register at the site entry, probably go with the iris scanner. So there are multiple changes that we're expecting in this site infrastructure. They're not going to be our old construction sites anymore.
Yes,
so
yes.
The three top things that you would tell your on-site construction managers to, cater to. The top three in brief. One by one, let me start with Prashant. What would you tell your, on-site construction manager? Top things to look out for?
Yeah, first and foremost, it would be the health of the people at site. Earlier we had trained people on safety by asking them to wear PPE, which was helmet, shoes, and jacket. Now we are going to ask them to wear the PPE for the health of others and not themselves. So that is the first step, which is very important. Second is going to be traceability of the people, because in case something goes wrong, rather than protecting the site, it will be a lockdown of the site for quite some time. So that is the second. Third, most project managers would try to outsource and get things prefab outside the site, or off-site working will be the next thing which will be there. Yeah. So these are the three thoughts which I leave on the table.
Thanks, Prashant. Balaji.
I will ask them to basically ensure that more of digital technology is used, get on to VCs rather than having large meetings, be able to do more online transactions, and to use more of digital signatures and digital approvals, and making the bills well in advance from the drawings and keeping them ready, and start ensuring that less of contact takes place. These are the 3-4 things that will be immediately told to the team to adapt.
Noted. Amitabh, can you go next, please?
Yes, Yogesh. If there will be one COVID case, my whole site will be sealed.
Absolutely.
So for me, the most important thing is SOP related to COVID has to be followed along with the other regular safety things like hand wash, then all sort of things. Second, which I mentioned in the beginning, that we all are under stress. So soft skills has to be adopted by people. We should be more empathetic to each other, and we should be more emotionally intelligent and work like that to de-stress the situation. And third most important thing to my mind is more inclination towards mechanization and digital technologies.
Thanks, Amitabh. Sarvesh, your thoughts, please.
I think all my co-panelists have more or less covered what the 3 points, the 3 key activities would be. However, I would just say that I would slightly tweak it in a different way in terms of short term, medium term, and probably a long term. In the short term, of course, as Prashant and everybody has said, it's all about safety, I mean health, safety of all. So whether you can use jugaad methods or whether you can use digital method, that's up to us. And of course, the second most important point, I mean, I would say first and second both are safety in short term. In fact, the third also is safety only. In the medium term, of course, it is all about how do we kickstart our construction projects. That's uppermost in the minds of everybody, because laborers are simply not there. Laborers are not there. They've all gone back home, and those who are going to come back. However, Prashant already spoke about that point about quarantine issues. In fact, he said about 40,000-50,000 rupees an expense. I'm probably saying probably it could be more also, because labor will get quarantined because of us, and then they'll run away. So in the medium term, it's all about getting the labor to the site, retaining them, and then probably as for a slightly longer term, as Balaji was saying, go local. Probably that's what reinvent your business model. In the long term, go digital, go technology, but then that will need the inputs and support of all. I mean, the clients, architects, consultants, everybody. Contractors alone will not be in a position to do it, especially the smaller and medium contractors. That's my sympathy.
Got it. Thanks, Sarvesh. So we're talking about a lot of additional infrastructure, be it technology, be it digitalization. We talked about iris scanners. We talked about, everything is now sensor based. We talked about laser beams for, surveying. All these come at a cost. So
Yes.
how do we, absorb this cost? How do we get past that hurdle? Can we start with Balaji, please?
Yogi, these are certain things that will be required to be implemented in the future also. I think what we change for good now will continue to remain and will not stop. There is bound to be certain costs that are going to be there in the initial, as Prashant said, that there is going to be humongous cost that will come in if we want to really implement all the care that we have to take and ensure that there is no problems on site. But none of us expected that this kind of a cost would be incurred. None of us would have anticipated this. So in my opinion, to start with, there should be a reimbursement of these costs either by the client, or this should be considered as an additional cost and implemented at site. In future, since this will be used in a normal manner, these costs will get incorporated into the cost of the project. But at this stage, as these have not been incorporated, these are bound to pinch somebody. And I think the judicious way is to absorb this cost and go ahead and ensure that they are implemented, because this will go a long way in improving the standards and the protocols and the SOPs and the practices of the site.
Got you, Balaji. Perfect. Prashant, can I have your thoughts on this?
Like I said, as a construction company, we are continuously incurring these expenditure, and we honestly would not know what is the cap on this expenditure until this has bottomed out in that sense. So we actually expect all of these to be paid or reimbursed by the clients. Now the challenge is going to be in the long term, if there is going to be a permanent cost increase, how is that going to be handled? So some of the solutions could be, if you are nearing the end of a project, it is much easier to handle because that would be a one-time cost and you're done with. But if you are halfway through the project, maybe with a different contract model could be adopted. For example, we could go in for an alliance model of contracting or a cost plus kind of contracting, because for a developer, there are a lot of changes that he is going to anticipate, either because of his uptake of flats or absorption of the built space in the market. So there is going to be a lot of variation, because this pandemic has not only affected the construction industry, but the whole country as at large. So for me, two answers. One, the cost obviously has to be taken upstream. That is, my clients would absorb it. And in the long run, they have to be transparent, and we will be transparent too, so that the new costs are captured and taken accordingly. And I again repeat that there is no point in opening the contract and reading between the lines to deny somebody. Let us be fair and just to each other. Yeah.
Fair enough, Prashant. So moving away from, we talked a lot about digitalization and technology. Construction typically is, columns, beams, and slabs. Various ways to achieve those means. But going forward, do you feel newer construction technologies would be employed? Let me take this first to Amitabh. What are your thoughts?
Yogesh, I see it in different way. Newer construction technology are already there. We are using it somewhere or other sites. Only the present situation will act as a trigger, and many of them will become in forefront. Like modular construction, I feel that it will be used more and more in the future. Similarly, use of BIM will be much more. And similar other construction practices, simple things like cut bend steel, cage reinforcement, and use of system shuttering instead of conventional shuttering to reduce labor. All those things will be used more and more. That's my view.
Got it. Sarvesh, can we have your views?
Yes, I mean, the first point I definitely agree with Mr. Amitabh that newer technologies in the sense that yes, construction has been the slowest to adopt technology. I mean, there has nothing been a disruptive technology like in a computer industry or the automotive industry where an assembly line got converted to complete robotics and things like that. So the technologies what are required from a COVID perspective today, whether it's precast or prefab, I think everything is available. I think it's only that the clients, the architects, the consultants, the designers, they have to support, we have to come together and look at a win-win solution for a futuristic construction. It's all about that. Very fortunately, I remember a cartoon, if you see there, a lot of things, the way the construction site will look like, the construction site will look like will be tremendously, should be. I wish and pray it will be tremendously different from what would be about 5 years back, 1 year back, or maybe even 6 months back. I'm talking about slightly, maybe down the line. Maybe it will all be about precast, it will all be about prefab, the whole offices will be digitally connected, even the laborers, they would be having tablets to read drawings or the shop drawings. There will be a lot of sensors and drones. And even simple things. I'll tell you, rebar, reinforcement. Today we don't use much of weld mesh. Now reinforcement tying, cutting, bending is a huge touch activity and so many touch points and so much of physical proximity. Can we go for weld mesh? Can we go for rebar cage? Rebar cage is something, again, all these things has been there for the last 25, 30, 40 years. It's the mindset, it's the cost angle, which has probably, or the design angles. Today, the designers, the clients, everybody supports from a safety, from a futuristic point of view. Long term, all these costs will come down. More the usage, advantage of scales will be there. So, there will be a lot of new things will come up. A simple thing like Jugaad. There are a lot of things in terms of I don't say technology in the Indian context, it's all about Jugaad. So I can give an quick example where, I'll just, very quickly, I'll draw it here, where a diesel dispensing drum is there and the two people are here, with the dispenser. Tremendous proximity here. A simple foreman has designed it. He has simply made this whole pipe a little longer. That's it. Distancing has increased. Physical distancing has gone up. So, it's not about newer technologies, newer thoughts, newer mindset. Everything will change. Yogesh.
Got it. So, not only the bath pots or precast or prefab, we would be looking at the Indian Jugaad to, get past this social distancing norms issue that we have at hand.
Yeah.
Moving forward, Balaji, I have a peculiar question for you. What contractual issues do you foresee within the existing contracts, and going forward, future contracts that you would be executing, would you be altering the clauses thereof? A quick snapshot, please.
In the present contract scenario, I do see claims and counterclaims coming from the contractors as well as the clients. Clients are likely to issue notices under force majeure so that they think that some costs that are going to be incurred need not be incurred. There are certain notifications from the government also that has come in, which can give rise to litigation where they are asking for all the wages to be paid in full for the workers during the lockdown period, especially the construction workers and all types of workers. Many clients have gone to the court. The courts have still not given any decision on this. They have kept the application and the decision in abeyance. The matter is sub judice. I think nobody should make use of the situation to gain advantage or to profit from this, because nobody had envisaged and would have clearly mentioned these kind of situations in their contract clauses under the force majeure or any other clause in the contract. There are bound to be litigations, but going in the future, the issues would be more sorted out, because in hindsight, people would have seen this as a case where proper precautions should be taken. And these kind of events will be properly enumerated into the contracts, and the roles and responsibilities and what constitutes a cost in these kind of situations would be properly mentioned. There could be opportunities for everybody to sit and have a long litigation, but it would be prudent that they sit across the table and sort this out, because nobody envisaged this kind of a turmoil to take place because of COVID and disruption in their contract conditions.
Thank you, Balaji. We're running short of time here. A lot of questions coming from the viewers as well. So I'll pose my last question to you. As I understand, as I summarize your thoughts and our discussion here today, there will be lessons learned, and there will be an emergence of a new normal within the construction industry. I would appreciate if all of you can quickly give a single word, yes or no answer. Do you feel there would be a new normal within the construction industry? Sarvesh.
Yeah. Single word is difficult. New normal is yes. I'll wrap it quickly. Lessons learned, yes. I mean, with tremendous pain, we have learned the lessons. Unfortunately, there's no gain thus far. But yes, a new normal will emerge from this whole COVID thing. Businesses will have to reinvent ourselves. And in my view, quickly, I think a lot of statutory norms will have to be changed. Innovate. I think innovate is the point.
Thank you.
That's the new norm.
Yes.
Thank you.
There will be a new normal.
Great. Amita.
Definitely yes, Yogesh. New normal will emerge out of this.
Prashant, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolute new normal. For sure.
Great. We have a resounding yes from all four of you, saying that a new normal would emerge from the situation that we are presently going through. So in continuation to this, my very last question for this webinar, and then we'll take the questions from the viewers, of course. How would you rate this new normal on a scale of 0 to 10? Do you foresee that we will continue it past we have the vaccine or a cure? Or will we go back to our older ways of doing things on our construction sites? Do you see a longevity in this? Quickly, on a scale of 0 to 10. Sarvesh, you can go first.
If things get implemented, I would rate at even 8 also. But if we resort back to, thankfully a vaccine should come or a cure should come, then we resort back is 5. And probably because some new norms will remain for sure.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarvesh. Yeah, next, can you go, Amitabh?
Yogesh, I will take a bit longer time. I have been brief in previous questions. So present crisis is unprecedented, we all know. So how we will interpolate the things in future? So we have to go to the past. If you see, many critical junctures has happened which shaped socio-political and economic map of the world. So Black Death happening in 1341 when 20 to 200 million deaths happened in the world. If you go in the recent past history, so there is Spanish flu 1918-19 coinciding with the World War I, and there also about 30 million deaths was reported. So by extrapolating from these events, we can see that present event will be great impact on society, and on the construction industry, I will rate it about 7.
Thank you, Amitabh. Prashant, can you go real quick?
Yeah, I also feel that the rating would be around 7 out of 10. And I'm very bullish about India. I feel we will take this opportunity to go both digital and improve on technology. and it will be a new normal like we discussed earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. Balaji, your thoughts, please.
My thoughts are very clear on this particular thing. The rating, I would give it about 7 out of 10, because what all is being adopted now to ensure that we are producing more, better controls, everything is going to go in a long term to improve the overall performance at site. And this is what the client or the contractor expects, that the productivity is good and everything happens easily. So this is going to be there at the scale of 7 out of 10.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So 7, 7, 8, and a 7. That gives me good feel-good factor that this new normal that we are going to be faced with is here to stay. Things will improve on the construction management side of a project. With that said, let's move on to a few questions from the audience. So team, after that short AV from CTBUH, let's take the viewers' questions. We have quite a few over here, but Anuja has been kind enough to post only questions without any comments on WhatsApp. So let me start with the first one. This is from Ms. Mamta Patwardhan. She asks whether incorporating safety precautions in construction will impact the construction cost. I believe yes. Will this cost be transferred to the end user? And will it be a further blow to the already dwindling real estate markets? Balaji, can you take that, please?
Yeah, Yogi, we have basically seen that we are referring here when we are talking about safety is basically the safety precautions that we need to take on COVID-related matters to ensure. I think this is where the focus is all about. See, the increase in cost is going to be there. There is going to be a certain amount of increase because of additional PPE that may be warranted in the term of face masks, which is basically a consumable, or a shield, which is being now used by passengers while traveling in aircrafts, or gloves, which are basically to prevent people from touching places where there could be deposition of COVID viruses, because we all think that COVID basically is transmitted through contact rather than more of an airborne disease. So there will be some costs, but these costs are not going to be very large, because in large construction organizations or even in medium construction organizations, majority of these type of masks and gloves and other PPE that is warranted today are normally used. Yes, sanitizers, dispensers, and other things which are now going to become a part of the new normal, which people would expect to be available even after the COVID pandemic crisis is over. These will be certain additional costs which are basically more on the hygiene side that will come in. Now, will it be passed on to the end user? I don't think this is such a large cost that it will have to be really put into the account of the end user. As a construction practice, this will all go towards making the amenities and facilities on site much more better, and the standards will go up. So I don't see that to be a very big cost impacting either the client or the contractor or being passed on to the end user in a real estate project.
So not a huge impact per se, which we should have adopted long back, basically. Okay, thanks, Balaji. The next one here is from Sagar Rangnekar, and he asks, how will digitalization compensate for loss of labor who may be contributing almost 60% of the productivity? Prashant, can you take that?
Yeah, I think Sagar's question is to do with labor. Now, we spoke about digitalization, use of technology at the higher end of the story in terms of the drawing release, drawing study, or clash detection, BIM, etc. earlier. But, there are two parts which generally comes in when you talk of labor, which I think will start vanishing in the near future. We have got what is called the unskilled labor and the casual labor, because I think that will start vanishing slowly, because in India, by practice and by history, we have got every skilled man having one unskilled person to help him. So this concept of helpers will vanish primarily because they are not there anymore. Second, I had very briefly explained earlier also that productive tools, this is what I call as hand tools, will come more into the fore, so that each laborer who is on site, instead of presently, I think most of us are taking around 110 kgs of reinforcement production per person per day. That will increase dramatically because he will have more powerful hand tools in his hands. So this is the way I think India will counter this in the immediate term. In the long term, it will counter by having prefabricated cages, weld mesh, etc., which will come from factories or prefab. I'm just giving the example of reinforcement. The same example would be valid for other trades of work also. Plus, you may start seeing reduction in plastering content in the buildings by design, and so on and so forth. So I think it would not be by digitalization, but use of technology, either by tools or capital expenses on that. So this is my response, Yogi. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Prashant. Amitabh, I think you should take the next question. So yeah. This is from Miss Sangeeta, and she asks, do you think there will be new development control rules for design of buildings on the lines of NDMA guidelines? Will the nature of planning and architecture undergo a change in the future?
Yes, I think Sangeeta has rightly raised this question. So first thing, we should have the design in place before construction starts, and change in rules always affect that. By the time we start constructing, FSI changes, and then we have to go to redesign the things, go to the drawing board. So this is causing a problem. So in my view, there should be a uniform DCR, and it should not be changed for 10 years or so, and FSI should be increased. Coming to the change in design things, yes, like with all this social distancing, we have to think of a spaces, lift, like your lift lobby. So elevator lobby has to accommodate people. It cannot be crowded. Maybe we will be using double-decker lifts so that people can be in the office buildings can be taken at 2 floors and social distancing can be maintained. So all these changes will happen and people will think, innovate, and change as per the situation.
Thank you, Amitabh.
Yogi, if you have time, I will just add a point to this.
Please go ahead.
From a post-COVID point of view, if you look at it, today we all have got basically the IGBC and the USGBC norms that we follow for our building quality and standards and so on and so forth in terms of making amenities available. What will happen here is that there will be a huge emphasis today as the indoor air quality will have to be improved to a great extent in many of the projects. So there will be a lot of new techniques which will be cost-effective techniques that will start coming in, which will improve the indoor air quality and prevent the contamination of the written air, because majority of this transmission can take place and get deposited on surfaces with the indoor written air. So that will have a lot of impact, like UV filters will come in, UV candles will be put on the written air, which will basically kill the virus and so on. People will start adopting more fresh air coming in which CPWD also has given out some new norms today, that the fresh air should be increased to a very great extent. They even talk to an extent of about 100%. For a country like India, it may not be very easy to get 100% fresh air into the system and still give comfort cooling to the people at around 24-25 degrees centigrade, because the ambient itself in summers are more than 40 degrees. So there will be a lot of these changes from an MEP point of view and the architectural point of view which will come in, with the MEP people asking for more space to provide for these equipments for better indoor air quality. So I think there will be some paradigm shift here also in terms of how consultants start looking at amenities and facilities to take care of these type of problems.
Great, thanks Balaji. Sarvesh, with your experience of high rises and large townships, I think you should take the next one. This is from Mr. Pradeep Bangali, Pune. He asks, in case of townships and high-rise structures, how will lightweight concrete panels help in the progress? Will it also reduce laborers' interactions, as very few trained workforce will be required? I think that's for you, Sarvesh.
I mean, very right point by Mr. Bengali from Pune. Very, very valid point. Of course, in high-rise, most of it is either cast-in-place aluminum formwork, where we have monolithic constructions, and very few walls are basically made up of blockwork or brickwork. I mean, that's practically not there. And most of it is, what we are using is dry walls. Many developers are now using dry walls. But yes, in fact, I saw in the chat there are a lot of other people have suggested on lightweight materials. Somebody has spoken about Cobiax, you are speaking of something else. So for medium rise and low rise, certainly this is a very good option, because labors are not available and skill sets are absolutely not available. In fact, I will extend this in saying that even for formwork, we must have such formwork which is not that skill intensive. Otherwise, what we have today is either the conventional formwork or the aluminum formwork, which is some sort of skill intensive. So I think probably, Mr. Bengali, you are trying to also hint towards a much larger perspective of skills availability, not only with respect to masonry walls or partition walls, but in respect of overall things also. I think we should look at, as I said in my earlier this thing, that Jugaad and technology, I think we should, at every step of construction activity, we must look at areas and Jugaads and innovations where we can reduce the skill set and make it as simple as possible, whereby we can simply use local, like typically in Maharashtra, we don't have the skill sets available for carpentry or reinforcement. You don't have those skill sets, or even for marble. So you must have some arrangement where you can use the local raw, just head count to do the things as good as or better than the previous ones. That would be my take on that.
Thanks, Sarvesh. Here's a question from Mohan Upadhyay, Capsicum Global. And he asks, will prefab and precast be the new normal? So all of you can probably take a shot at it real quick. Can we start with you, Prashant?
Yeah. I'm, it definitely is going to change the way we are going to construct. We have seen, in patches, prefab and precast being used. But in the future, you will have not just 2D, but it will also go towards 3D and more mechanized method of construction. And I think this pandemic is only helping us to go there faster. Like I said earlier, it is going to be a catalyst to move towards this progression towards precast and prefab faster. The only thing is we need to accept that any new technology which has got a component of imported equipment, etc., will be costlier than your present cost, what you are familiar with in terms of its conventional equivalent. So we need to accept this as a fact and then go forward, because it is going to give you more predictability of program. So that is what I feel. And, sometimes
again, just
going a bit backwards. So someone has said a word Jugaad. Yeah. Sometimes, I'll just add to what someone said. Jugaad is being used in a very crude way, but I will add to what someone said, saying that Jugaad with engineering backup. It is not something that you use Jugaad and it fails, because some of the questions I have seen by the various people in the participants, they are thinking Jugaad means anything which you just dish out in a particular situation. No, I think Sarvesh's meaning, and even I would use it, is a Jugaad which is backed up by engineering calculation and safe practices. It is not that just put something on the table and then make it work, and if it fails, it causes safety and health hazards. No. So Jugaad is something which we as Indians are familiar, but obviously it has to be backed with engineering calculations, etc. So answer is that yes, prefab, precast, and composite construction also is going to be the way forward.
Correct. Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Balaji, would you like to?
Yeah, Yogi, precast, prefab is there in a small way, more of prefab in terms of enabling activities that we do. Precast is not caught up so much in India still because of certain reasons like preference, ease of doing it on site, our tax laws not being in favor of factory manufactured things because of the duties and other things that are there. Earlier it was there as excess duty we used to have or things that were manufactured in a factory and brought in. But now with GST and all, prefab can definitely be, precast and prefab can definitely be looked as an alternative to in situ construction, which will improve the speed of construction, will get you better quality control, and also will improve the standards of construction, of getting better detailing, better technology and better mechanization at site, and so on. So going forward, more than pure precast or prefab, there will be hybrid composite structures that will come up, where people will start using both the benefits of composite technology, that is using metallic structures combined with concrete elements in them, and improve the speed of construction, because now there will be lesser manpower available. This is the thought process. And this particular post-COVID scenario is going to improve the skills that will be required to get into better technological aspects of construction. So I think precast, prefab, all this will get good momentum and will be preferred by clients for faster construction to happen with lesser workforce.
Okay.
Yogesh, here I would like to add something.
Please.
The precast will be fast. So our problem is cash flow. So even if the technology is good, so we have to manage our finances in such a manner that we will be able to adopt that. Because we have seen in China, 50 floors building they have made in 50 days. So at that speed, whether we'll be able to pay. So that is also important. And other things which come to my mind is joints. Everybody knows that precast problem is joints. So to avoid that, why I feel that instead of precast segments, it will be more important to go modular. So maybe a 3D precast will happen and it will come to the site. But we need more craneage and such machinery at site.
Yogesh, I'll not speak about precast because precast we have spoken a lot, but I'll take a couple of questions which I saw on the chat. Somebody spoke about, nobody's spoken about traveling issues in the new COVID scenario. I think, yes, I mean, how traveling and physical meetings will happen. I think already this is one forum where without physical meeting, we met about 700-800 people today and we interacted with them. In fact, I'll extend that question further and say that, for example, pour card checking, you can use VR gear today. I mean, the consultant client or the architect or the structural designer can be sitting in his office and using the VR gears, he can very well look at the element to be cast.
Or even a drone, maybe, even drones.
Even through drones or
cameras, VR, carried over by drones.
At L&T, we are quite sick of using this VR gear for top management. They assess the whole thing. So that can be, even the smallest part can be seen. So that way, I think, traveling can be reduced significantly. Physical distancing can be increased because architect consultants don't need to come here. We don't need 10 people gathered on a slab to scrutinize and verify it. creating a chaos, at the same time damaging it. So all that can be much, much easier. So I think that way, there are some benefits coming out of it, although out of a lot of pain though.
Great. Thank you, Sarvesh. So it's almost 12:25. We'll like to stop over here. First of all, thanks to all four of you, Balaji, Prashant, Sarvesh, and Amitabh.
Thank you.
CTBH India appreciates your participation and your time. And also thank you to all the attendees, be it on Zoom call as well as the FB page. Thank you. Thanks a lot for attending. We'll continue having such a discussions with the industry experts. And just a reminder, CTBH India with the IDAC is hosting another webinar tomorrow at 5 p.m. wherein Mr. Kamal Hadkar of Sterling, the doyen of the industry, is being interviewed by his own daughter, Miss Deepa. Should be tracing his journey as well, professional journey, as well as intertwined with the facets of his personal life. So please do join in 5 p.m. 31st March tomorrow. With that said, thank you. Thanks a lot. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Jai Hind.